So what we're going to look at next is our software product. We've covered the hardware product. We have CMS 6100 and vCMS. It's a central management system. It's a platform that allows us to access the downstream console servers, do reporting and monitoring, and provide a call home location for units that are on a cellular network or behind a firewall. We have, so it's a unified single screen you can come to access all the different downstream devices and products hooked up to them. We support two-factor RSA Secure ID. You can have double management interfaces. You can have dual units for redundancy. And you can provide real-time monitoring of alarms and events from all the downstream products and the things attached to them. This is available in two platforms. One's a hardware platform called the CMS 6100. It's a slim form factor centralized management server that fits in behind an LCD drawer. This provides connectivity up to about 255 downstream Opengear products. The vCMS is a virtual product that lives on a VM or a Linux server, Linux KVM. It's designed in the back end with Nagios. We've had a long-term partnership with Nagios, and this allows for flexibility for you to add in whatever extensions you may want, both locally and through the vCMS. So we integrated our console server software with the Nagios. The Nagios provides the monitoring level of this.
So, and one of the things Nagios has for years is the ability to do that temperature sensing, alerting down from the remote sensors. Are you pre-bundling that in your vCMS packages?
We do, no. I would say our products have the native temperature monitoring built into them. They generate that and send it upstream. And yes, it is a, I think it runs separate from a Nagios check. It's a stream.
Yeah,
we run 6, I think, predefined checks locally inside of our device by default. It's a serial check, so we can tell if someone unplugged the serial cable from, say, your Cisco device. We can tell allowed TCP, allowed UDP, and a few others. So you can also, on that, the memory built into the products, you can extend Nagios to put your own local checks. So we act as a slave server. We're a slave server. So you can load it up on that 4 gig or 16 gig and isolate all your checks there so you're not eating up network traffic with a bunch of ping checks. So you can isolate it to the product, and then when there's an alert, go upstream with it, both in-band and out-of-band. So the vCMS, it is a version of Nagios. You can install it on a VMware server or Linux KVM. Let's see here. One of the cool things about this is the ability to manage isolated devices. And if you have products that are calling home behind a firewall, say just in-band with a standard network connectivity, and you need to gain access to equipment or get a connection, but you're blocked by commodity firewalls, these things can call home to the vCMS server, get authenticated, get a key exchange, and you have port forwarding set up, so you have one screen to go to. An example of this was a healthcare club that we work with. There's a company putting in door scanners for a spa or salon side of it, and they wanted to go in and retrofit this nationwide chain. And they operated outside of it, kind of leased a space within the healthcare facility. And they said, well, these people all have commodity firewalls. We can't open up ports for OpenVPN and try to troubleshoot all this stuff. So our product sits behind the commodity firewall and makes a call home outbound over OpenVPN, creates the bidirectional tunnel and allows them to scan the key, authenticate, and then trigger a serial-based relay to open the door. So it's the ability to call home to vCMS as well extends both in-band and out-of-band. So you have one spot to go to find your downstream equipment. And it saves a lot of trouble. You plug it in and these things call home and you know where to find them. All right, so we're going to talk a bit about solutions at this point. We're doing good on time. So virtual remote hands. What that means to us and how people talk about that is not having to have IT staff at a branch office or a remote site. Obviously, those are very expensive resources, and one can't be at every branch office, so that's what we help provide. Cellular out-of-band management. That's fairly straightforward. Vendor-neutral infrastructure management. That's where we were talking about the power, the ability to monitor and manage power from a vendor-neutral standpoint. We have advanced monitoring, and we also have a portion of our solution that's automated remote management and support. And what this is it's a runbook automation that we'll talk about that allows you to do condition checks, trigger actions that fire off both Nagios checks, SMS texts, emails, and a variety of different alerts to set up to different systems. So with the virtual remote hands, where we see this used most commonly is setting up bare metal Cisco components, other network connectivity from bare metal. If something goes really bad and you need access remotely, this is the type of product to get in there. Use the serial console port, the craft port, the management port, the save my bacon port. That's the thing that people need access to. If you have a fat finger and you hit the wrong key, you could leave something in a bad state. And if you can get in and remedy it within 30 seconds and no one knows, then that's a good thing to have. So virtual remote hands, we find people need this type of solution most where there's compliance or SLAs that have to be met. So if you have high uptime as a compliance or as an enterprise grade function of your company, then this is the type of product that's built for that. Cellular out-of-band management. So these devices with cellular out-of-band connectivity can automatically fail over and fail back once we sense ping and traffic coming back across the port. We work with private non-malleable carrier IP addresses. We support dynamic DNS. We support call home. Part of the call home features that we support are SSH to our VCMS. It's an SSH connection. We are looking at incorporating IPsec as well. You can fail over and have our device rebuild an IPsec tunnel over the 3G link to a security appliance. So if while in band, our device, which does support IPsec, has a connection back to your headquarters or NOC, when it fails out, it'll automatically rebuild that tunnel back to, say, a security appliance, ASA, something like that. With the vendor-neutral infrastructure management, we can monitor and provide connectivity to a whole host of UPS systems and PDUs. Some PDUs only speak to their own proprietary software, and what this allows you to do is have connectivity to it and plug it into places that it normally didn't belong, like other monitoring software from different companies. We'll talk a little bit more about that during the live portion. Advanced monitoring. So we've been a Nagios partner for years. We're also a Xenos partner and a SolarWinds partner. So we built polar packs. They're up on Thwack for SolarWinds. If you want, you can integrate our host seamlessly and quickly. Same with the Zen pack that's available. We understand that a lot of people have a large investment in existing monitoring software. Making that easy to do is something that helps us make the customers happy. It also extends non-IP devices to monitoring software like SolarWinds. So you never knew before that someone unplugged your Cisco console cable because there was no connectivity for that. Now we can tell you, hey, there's a security problem. Someone unplugged it. Or there may be devices that weren't currently on the monitoring software because they didn't have an SNMP web management card, like UPS systems. So we bring those into the network now and allow them to be monitored. So we add value to those as well as being partners.
Can that type of trap be sent directly from the device, or does that have to go through the CMS?
No, it can go sent directly to the device. Okay. Outside of CMS or VCMS, you could use SolarWinds or Xenos and send the traps up to them. Let's see, we also do physical monitoring. One of the products we didn't talk about was the EMD 5000. It's a small environmental monitoring device that takes up a serial port. So that the RJ45 on it's plugged into a serial port on one of our products and provides the 2 digital IOs for external physical connectivity to water leak detection, smoke, fire, vibration, and door contacts. Now the EMD has built-in humidity and temperature. You can have as many as you want on a unit. So you can have one at the top of the rack, bottom of the rack, 2 racks over, however you want to do it. But we provide the physical monitoring. So if someone opens the rack door, you can start spooling data from an IP camera, take their picture, email it off, and as well be informed as to the environmentals. And the environmentals do scale up to the other NMS like SolarWinds and Xenos, as well as our VCMS.
Does this thing work any differently than the built-in monitor, the contacts and whatnot on the ACM?
It
Not
works,
really, no.
yeah, almost identical, except for the built-in ones don't have humidity.
Yep.
They only have temperature. So it has a little bit more of an advantage. Let's take a look. So we're going to talk a bit about automated remote management and support. This is a newer feature that our engineers came up with. What this is it's do you want to talk more about this? Or?
Sure, I can, yeah. So we kept getting requests from customers to have our boxes take action when certain events happened. And at first, we just started doing hard-coded daemons to do this sort of thing. But then after a while, after we saw more and more of these come in, we realized we needed a more generic way to actually do this, a more flexible way to handle any action and any possible trigger. And so what we put together was a system which we have called Automated Remote Management, or ARMS. And like I mentioned earlier, what it basically is a heuristic engine. So you can define triggers and actions and couple the two together. And that's basically all there really is to it. These triggers can be anything from a script, SMS, network traffic. Likewise with actions, can be anything of the same. Digital I/O, SMSs, email.
So is this mapping up like, so Nagios has a notion of having a probe and actually and having automatic remediation, like going and resetting a...
It's a similar idea, yeah, but it's separate from Nagios, yeah.
Okay.
It runs local, which may be helpful if it's an isolated condition where there's no network, no cellular, no one knows about it. This device may be able to solve a problem on its own, or a maintenance problem on its own, depending on how you want to set it up. We found it to be very flexible, and customers find different uses for it all the time. Some of the stuff that's commonly solved by this is reducing mean time to repair, and that's with event-triggered log retrievals and simplified messaging. So there's a lot of things, and every company is different, and every enterprise is different, but it's one of the flexible, programmable portions of our product that isn't just command line, it extends to the GUI. So it allows for less technical users to get a lot of programmability easily.
Yep.
Make it a lot more accessible. So we're going to wrap up the products here.
Is that ARMS business where
Sure.
we would incorporate stuff like shut down less critical equipment on...
Power shed during an outage? Yeah.
That's right, yep.
If there's an environmental problem, turn off the printers if it's getting
That's
hot
right.
in here, that
Yep.
kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and we can, and it's with a visual outlook on it here during the next to the live portion. It's probably a lot more self-explanatory or easy to digest. So to wrap up the products portion, we're a proven Linux core. Our products run on UC Linux. It's extremely robust as a embedded Linux platform. We've done a lot with security regarding authentication, access, VPN. We do embed also one of the things that we didn't talk too much about is the IPMI toolchain. So for server management that may have HP ILOs, Dell D-Racks, other type of service processor cards that are utilizing the BMC on the server, we can run commands locally using the IPMI tools, which means we can soft reset, reboot servers from the command line or from a simple button that we built into the web interface. So if there's a server management application, we definitely fit into that as well. Low cost, fast return on investment. It's cheaper than flying out to a remote site or driving or sending a third-party person out there to do it. And again, we have redundant products with cellular out-of-band designed for disaster recovery and continuity. So that's going to wrap.
Logs and audit trails, you keep going on about that. That's a real requirement. You've got customers asking you for that?
For which?
Having the logs, like the offline logging in the actual device.
It's extremely important for companies that may have primary connectivity to an off-box syslog server. We'll send all that data. Then during an outage, they're blind.
Yes.
And for an audit, they need to go back and have exactly what happened during the transactions when they were down to stay compliant. And that reaches beyond the financial market, where it's very important to even healthcare industries as well.
For door access more so than anything else, I would think, right?
It's what's happening out of the routers and switches. What's spooling up the data is what's most important. It's one of the military has been very adamant about that as well. So we found that log files to them were extremely vital. They were crucial.
Yeah, you're talking about logging events on the device, or you're talking about logging serial?
Logging the serial data, spitting out of the serial consoles on all the attached equipment.
Yeah, I've set up a whole many hundreds of serial ports that log off an NFS server, but only when it's available.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And being able to do that locally and kick those out later.
And go back and find the data and find out what happened and what went wrong.
I wish I was using your product for that.
So
But it
will
wasn't.
these customers, they'll pull that information in once it comes back online?
Correct,
or-
yeah. Yeah, and you have a couple, I mean, you have 16 gig in the rack mount unit, the IM family, 4 gig in the smaller ones. With USB connectivity, you can put a drive on it of any size that you want, spool it up, but I mean, it'll take a big outage to fill up a 16 gig drive with log files.
Jared, you said there is shell access to the Linux distribution?
Yep.
There sure is, yeah. Root access, you can bash script to it, you can write own scripts directly on there. Actually, we provide a directory for you. We expect people to do it.
So, I mean, that's kind of nice as a tool for, I need to see a scan behind the firewall. I mean, it's UC Linux, that's got.
Yep, that's what we run, yeah.
Throw in map on there and now you
Yep,
can scan
yep,
behind the.
yep,
Yeah,
yep,
so,
yep.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's certainly something that we actively support. Yeah.
Do you have a consolidated list of all the open source projects where you've contributed code somewhere?
I don't know of one, actually.
Where we've contributed code?
Yeah, are they both ones
Sure.
you help to maintain, but ones you actively contribute to?
No, we're not that organized on that subject, unfortunately. It's been a long time. Well, we started with some 8 years ago with COM port redirectors for Linux that we built. It's up on SourceForge. Then we built STT Connector, which is secure desktop tunneling, and that was where obviously secure laptop tunneling would be more viable now, but it's still a well-used portion. It's up on SourceForge. Some of the other projects we worked with had other maintainers, but the two top ones that come to mind are STT Connector
Yep.
and
that's
the
right.
Linux port share. I forget the name of it. But we can get back to you on that
Yeah. Yep.
if you want. Yeah, but
But yeah, all of our stuff, the actual Linux system is based off a distribution called UC Linux. And that's freely available online, and we contribute back to that. And it's been a great source for us. It let us build up our products really quickly and get up to speed without too much trouble.
And the CMS you're open with it as well, right? It's based on open source, but you're.
Yep, well, it's technically the same sort of build. It's built out of the same source tree, just for a different target, a few different options. So it's the same.
Do you guys integrate with the Nagios Cacti integration too for logging and trending for your state?
you would probably have to roll that in yourself.
Okay.
We also do have an STT connector component which allows for a button that you can roll into your own Nagios version, so you can click to connect. So when you look at the hosts, you can just, if you have an existing Nagios, you can extend it with the STT connector for Nagios. It allows you just to click to connect. It's going to launch a client-based software, which is Java-based, from your desktop, and then create a secure tunnel to a serial port or a TCP port, or even UDP, I suppose. But
Yep.
so yeah, secure STT connectors. It's still up on SourceForge and can be downloaded and take a look at it. It's a way to port forward over an SSH tunnel connections from your local side through the Opengear device to the devices that are attached. It's a way to organize things easily. If you have a lot of RDP sessions, say you're a customer that you're serving, or you have 50 RDP sessions, 3 or 4 serial consoles, UPS system, you could do it all with one of our 4-port boxes. Plug into the UPS, RDP, you can tunnel through using STT connector, and you just bring it up and you can click. You can see, hey, there's that by its naming convention. I can click on it. I don't have to look up or remember the IP address. Its name is there because I set it up in the Opengear.
Is there a possibility to integrate other vendors' serial consoles into the GUI and the kind of access serial ports that are yours?
You probably could, using.
I asked because you only gave me 4 ports.
I can get you some more. You probably could. You probably could set up a virtual port to the TCP port of another vendor's product. I wouldn't suggest you do that in an environment where you want high uptime, because then you have a single point of failure. So essentially, you could logically cluster them. It would provide you with a single place to go to, but if something happened, you'd be completely in the dark. So for out-of-band or uptime, I probably wouldn't advise on that.
Do network admins that are using these products typically log all of their serial IO, or is that just paranoid crazies that do that?
Log all their serial?
Yeah.
No, we have a lot of people just log it to a central syslog. It seems like a no-brainer. Most
Line
of it.
by line, they just log it out, or?
Yeah. Yeah, and we also have pattern match on there. So what we can do is if you have logging enabled, we have 4 different levels. You can put in a regular expression and catch that as it's coming across the serial console port.
I've seen stretches, he stops people from overwriting the NVRAM on his route.
Yeah,
on his flash.
so he uses our product for that in his public lab. Yeah, so we can also watch the serial stream and grab data coming across, alert based on that, send messages out, and then part of the ARMS product, you can take action. So if someone does that, you can then shut things off and
Close the connection.
terminate the connection, email the police, something like that. So, all right, so that's what we're finished up with the.
I've got visions of the 5-volt line driving a solenoid into a door, and then you can use the 3G
Ah.
on your iPhone to actually like open the door, and if somebody breaches it, then it'll actually email you a message to say the door's been breached.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now you know when your daughters sneak out at night. You can put it right. Gotcha.
Little laser, little
Powers the webcam.
yeah, that's right. Powers the webcam, flash goes off.
Yeah. They're back in bed in about 10
Trips
minutes.
the laser. Busted.
I can do it from anywhere in the world, girls.